Hey everyone, today we are sitting down with George Felix, who we are very excited to get together with and talk with. George is with the Multifamily Socal team. George and I have been working together for 8 years now. We've transacted together a little over 300 apartment transactions. But what a lot of people don't know about George is that you previously, prior to getting into multifamily, you sold retail properties for 12 years roughly?
That's right, yeah, about 12 years.
And with that, you have a ton of triple net experience.
That's correct.
And I think it'd just be great to kind of share your backstory on net lease exchanges, your involvement with the team, and just really diving into net lease. There's always been a demand to go into net lease. A lot of apartment investors sometimes transition into going into net lease to get passive income. So let's just dive into it. First off, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time to sit down. And then diving into it, what is a triple net property?
Triple net properties are retail, usually retail, but they consist of banks, drugstores, quick service restaurants, even restaurants. And what they are is they're basically leases that you're purchasing where the expenses are passed through to the tenant. So they cover all the insurance, taxes, and most of them would be repairs and maintenance as well. Got it.
And just thinking about this, the first transaction we closed together was actually a triple net property. It was a Jack in the Box.
That's right, out in Pasadena, Texas.
In Pasadena, Texas.
Yeah, that was a multifamily investor.
That exchanged out, wanted passive income. That was a corporate deal. And that owner's been very happy with that property.
Exactly, yeah. We keep in touch with him, and I think he said he wanted to buy a few more, but I don't think he has the money for it yet. He's pretty set off.
It definitely was a lifestyle improvement from him. He didn't have to handle any of the day-to-day apartment stuff and was able to transition over to just getting a mailbox money, really.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's in Texas, and he lives out here. He lives locally.
So that was back in 2010. That was our first transaction together, and then it just kind of, the relationship blossomed. But I think what a lot of people like about the net lease is that, they build up their wealth in apartment trend. Not everybody's going into net leases going from apartments, but that is typically the flow that we see because we are in the apartment market. But, people built up great equity within their apartments, and at some point in time, there's either a succession plan where somebody takes over their apartment business, or they pass it to their kids or their heirs, or if they don't, they just want a better lifestyle transition, they get in a net lease. And what they love working with you on is that you're so diligent within all the transactions that you handle. A lot of the transactions involve a 1031. So it's not only going into a new property, but it's also like going into it with, doing a 1031 for the first time.
Absolutely.
Tell us about who are buying these net lease properties from us.
Typically it's the people, usually a little bit older. They've done a lot of trades with the multifamily, basically took advantage of the rapid appreciation that multifamily has, and kind of want to retire these days. And what I mean by that is they kind of want to get rid of the management part of it. Most of these people self-manage it themselves, so they would trade into a triple net where they wouldn't have to manage anything at all. They pretty much just collect a check and pay the mortgage payment. That's about it. In terms of repairs and maintenance, the tenants handle that, all aspects from roof structure to the interiors.
And then that all sounds great. I mean, if that were the case, why doesn't everybody go into triple net? Like, tell us why do some people stay with multifamily and exchange out of one multifamily property and trade up into that versus everybody going to net lease? Like, what are some?
I think a lot of it, one of the biggest things would be the appreciation. The appreciation is not there because the increases to the rent come every 5 years, typically 5 to 10 years. So if you buy it in year one, let's say, the value is still going to be worth the same in year 4 or 5. And then it's not until that rent kicks in. Well, it may tick up a little bit, but then again, that will be a function of what the market cap rates are. So if there's cap rate compression, you will make some money. Not a lot of money, but basically like what you would find in multifamily, where you have 12 tenants, let's say, and you raise the rents all across the board year over year over year. You're just increasing value of that property as years go by. So that's not the case with triple nets.
Got it. So It's more or less, is it one way to look at it, multifamily you can generate and create a lot of wealth, and then net lease, you can still generate and create wealth there, but it's more or less to preserve the wealth and get better cash flow.
That's exactly right, yes.
Because you can 1031 exchange into it, you can get all the benefits of owning direct real estate. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. And you get all your time back because there's really not any landlord responsibilities.
That's right, and you also will increase your cash flow because the expenses are passed on to the tenant, so that just basically stays, it doesn't affect your NOI.
So we've sold a number, you've arranged the 1031 exchanges with a number of our multifamily investors that are getting out of multifamily and want to go into net lease. What are some of the most popular triple net properties that they're buying right now?
Well, they're absolute triple nets. There are all kinds of triple nets that we can get into, but that's probably another conversation. But it would be an absolute triple net with usually 10, 15 plus years left on the lease, and a corporate tenant is what we've been kind of putting our clients into. They have the safe security of a corporate tenant where they have the financial wherewithal to pay for the rent, even if they decide to go dark at that particular space. So it's secure for the owner, and will they also collect the rent regardless if the business has gone dark or not. Secondly, you do have the increases in there as well.
Got it, to kind of help offset. Now, are these investors, are they putting 100% of their net worth into this exchange, or are you seeing that it's more of they're kind of putting a small percentage of their total net worth into a triple net property when they start? It's a first time thing.
It's typically not, they're not putting all 100% of their net worth in there. They're pretty much putting in what they have in their exchange proceeds. A lot of, they're going from a different product type. They're used to multifamily, and having them trade into triple net, there's a lot of teaching that comes along with it, and a lot of questions that come along with it, which is typical. So typically we would just basically use their exchange monies and put them in, not fully leveraged, but the last few deals I've done, it's usually been about 50% leverage.
Mm-hmm. So that's a safe leverage.
Exactly, safe, increases their cash flow, usually around 20%. It's a case-by-case basis, but that's kind of spin the bar.
Got it. And then, that's pretty good. That's pretty phenomenal for a passive investment.
Right, that's true. And then you'll have an increase, and within 5-10 years from that, which is usually 10%. So then that just gets increased. I
think a big concern right now is just where we're at in the market with rates starting to tick up a little bit. People feel like rates could continue to rise. So if you're buying a net lease property, it might be hard to kind of adjust your income up. Maybe you get those bumps that'll help offset it a little bit.
That's correct.
But with multifamily, if rental rates rise, we're on much shorter term leases. We can adjust rents if there is inflation better, one might argue, than maybe net lease. Right,
and that's why you always want to try to look for something with increases and a fair amount of increases, something that would keep up with inflation 2 to 3% a year. So to offset that rate rise. And then also cap rates with triple nets tend to follow the interest rates too.
Got it. Okay. And then what's your favorite type of tenant? Do you like fast food? Do you like drugstores?
I like all kinds of tenants. Typically, I like to also look at, at worst case scenario. If this tenant were to blow out, what can we put in there? So I always advise clients to look at the area, what tenants are missing, what tenant would want to be in there if this, worst case scenario, this tenant blows out. But fast foods are great, auto stores are great. Auto stores, in secondary markets are awesome. I wouldn't sell an auto store in Newport Beach. But those type of, as long as the tenant's strong and they're healthy, that's pretty much what I end up showing all the clients as potential exchange purchases.
Meaning you wouldn't sell Newport Beach just because it's a great location?
Not a lot of people are working on their cars in Newport.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. And then what about buying in California versus buying out of state? Like, what's your thoughts there from a passive investor that's getting out of apartment buildings, say here in Southern California? Are you just looking at the quality of the tenant? If it's in Texas, if it's in California, it doesn't really matter as long as you're buying a good quality.
Yeah, it's the same tenants across the board. The Starbucks in California is the same as the Starbucks in Texas. The Starbucks in Texas will probably have a better return, a little bit higher cap rate than California, so you get a better yield going out of state, typically.
And then we know apartment inventory is super, super low right now. Very hard to find that up leg beforehand. What about the net lease space? Are there more opportunities out there, or is it pretty tight?
It's It's just as tight. You know, you do have to dig around a little bit more than you used to find that deal. You know, because there's all types of triple nets as well. There's a lot of them that have short-term leases. There's a lot of them that have long-term leases. So it's just a matter of, you know, finding the right one. But the inventory is just as tight.
Gotcha. And then what's the best way if an investor's thinking about maybe going over their options? Is it start with maybe them looking at the value of their apartment building and then a return on their equity?
Yeah, I mean that would be the start. Secondly, I would suggest is just start looking at triple nets, you know, packages, and kind of just start studying them a little bit. Getting familiar with how they're being offered, what they are, you know, the different aspects of a triple net offering. And then lastly, call me and I can walk them through anything.
Got it. And then that's a really good part, because going back to that Jack in the Box that we did, you go through the brochure, everything's pretty straightforward, but then you go into the lease, and then you get the copy of the lease, and it's like it can be a little overwhelming for the first time investor going into this.
Absolutely.
So you can help them walk through going through the lease, what to look out for.
Exactly. You know, making sure the taxes are fully passed through, making sure just, you know, it basically that the offering is what it is. The tenant takes care of insurance, tenant takes care of all the taxes and all operating expenses. Also making sure that there's no kick-out clauses or for the tenant. So ultimately, the lease is pretty much one of the most important things you need to read during your due diligence process.
Understood. And then we've done a number of recent transactions, but from apartments to net lease, but can you share a couple that are just off the top of your head that you really liked, maybe one?
Yeah, we sold 16 units in Anaheim just a year and a half ago for a client who was basically wanted to kind of have an easier way of life and not manage it. He was a self-managing guy, and was able to find a Raising Cane's corporate lease for him, just under a 5% cap rate. And this one was actually pretty nice because it was anchored by an at-home. It's a nice shopping center, so there was a lot of traffic coming to the area, and there was 17 years left on the lease with 10% increases every 5 years.
Wow.
So I think he was set to have another increase 2 years after he purchased it, which should be probably at the end of this year.
We sold his apartment property, I believe it was right around a 4% cap rate, and then the Raising Cane's was 475?
It was a 4.9 cap.
4.9 cap.
4.9 cap. He obtained financing at, I believe, a 3.75%.
Wow.
Fixed for 7 years.
And then are the net lease financing, are those 30-year AMs? Are they 25-year AMs?
Those, they do differ depending on the lender and the length of lease.
Got it.
If it's shorter, typically lenders will go more towards a 25-year AM. If it's longer, they would do a 30-year AM on it.
Got it. Did you help arrange the financing as well?
Yeah, I put them in touch with our single tenant debt team out of Phoenix, and they arranged the financing, and I think they might have refinanced it again.
So we arranged the down leg sale through CBRE, the up leg sale through CBRE, and the debt financing for the triple net property through CBRE.
It was all in-house.
Kind of arranged the whole transaction.
Exactly.
Client got all that service under one roof, which I think is valuable. All the parts are working together.
That's exactly right. We had control. We knew what everybody was doing at any given time, and kind of just knew when the deal was going to close.
I think it's definitely, when we talk to the majority of the transactions that we handle involve a 1031 exchange, and it's just a lot of, some of these are first-time investors doing their first ever exchange. They don't know the nuances with that. You're very diligent in making sure all the transaction is done properly, correctly, and the 1031 exchange is, all the paperwork's there, nice and tight. We hit the deadlines. We get everything done before the deadlines, obviously, but then also educating them, helping them through the entire process of what to buy as well. So it is a lot of time to help make sure that these investors feel comfortable and make a good informed decision. But you've done a great job with all the transactions within the entire multifamily Socal team. And then also just this net lease side of it. Not everybody wants to double down and go into apartments again, especially with more regulation within the state of California. I think that's been an uptick of people kind of going out of state and then sticking with some net lease properties.
Exactly.
So it seems like that trend's probably going to continue.
I think so. I think so. And it's, again, everybody always explores triple net leases. It's not always for them. It all depends on where they are in life and what they're looking to accomplish. But you know, if you're thinking of an exchange, it's always worth checking that, you know, exploring, seeing if it would fit or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I mean, we're helping an investor right now that's just selling a multifamily property and going into their first net lease property. And, you know, they have grandkids in and out of state. You know, they've got family and they want to golf, and, you know, buying another apartment property can make a lot of sense if you can get your hands on one, but they're, you know, 4 caps or 3 caps. And, you know, we're helping him do his first exchange and a net lease, and it's exciting.
Absolutely.
That'll clip in more with his lifestyle.
Exactly.
To where he can enjoy cash flow and enjoy that long-term corporate guarantee.
That's exactly right.
So, well, thank you so much. This is a lot of really good information. We'll put your contact information below in the video so people can reach out if they have any questions.
Absolutely.
But thank you for being on, and we'll have to have you on again and talk about, you know, more triple net properties, success stories, and all the above.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for being here, George. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for having me.